Have you ever felt as though an invisible, relentless force is constantly pushing you backward? Or wondered why, despite all your exhausting efforts to be good, you shatter like fragile glass under the weight of others' judgments? Let me share a truth that might sting. You are currently drowning in an ocean of global chaos, and you have stepped onto the battlefield completely without armor. This book is not a gentle, comforting pat on the back. It is a blaring siren in the dead of night. We are living in an era where human identities are mercilessly swallowed whole by algorithms, social pressures, and the fleeting opinions of the masses. If you feel like the control of your own life has slipped through your fingers, it is because a vital, core piece of your existential puzzle is missing. There is a specific ancient trait, a secret code of power, that the elites and the truly powerful have hidden from you like a buried treasure. In this book, we're going to embark on a psychological and psychological journey that begins in the darkest, most terrifying layers of your mind and ends at the absolute peak of human authority. But there are questions we must answer that will steal your sleep tonight. Why do certain individuals remain as calm as if they were walking through paradise, even when catastrophic crises destroy everything around them? What is the secret hidden within the nervous systems of those who never ever taste the bitter poison of humiliation? In Part 1, we will ruthlessly dissect the modern human condition. We will show you exactly how the absence of this impenetrable solidity has turned you into a modern-day emotional slave, and why your chronic anxiety is actually a blaring alarm, signaling the collapse of your very identity. In Part 2, we will pull back the curtain on an ancient, scientifically backed reality. We seek to understand how it is possible to become a fixed cosmic point in a world spiraling into absolute entropy. Did you know that activating one specific inner trait can entirely alter the magnetic structure of your presence? In Part 3, we will penetrate the deepest layers of your subconscious awakening. Here, harsh psychological facts will prove why relying on anything outside of your own core is a slow, agonizing psychological suicide. Finally, in the conclusion, we will manifest the miracle. All the forbidden solutions, the guarded techniques, and the daily practices that transform a helpless victim into an untouchable sovereign will be revealed. This book is strictly for those who have the courage to understand why they have been living in invisible chains, and who desperately want the answers to the 20 most vital questions of their existence. Brace yourself. Once you read these pages, there is no turning back to the weak, fragile version of who you used to be. Book title: The Forbidden Formula of Invincibility: Why Your Life is Falling Apart. The Secret Code of Power. Author: Vahid Zekavati. Copyright: VMZ Production. Part 1: The Valley of Oblivion. The Consequences of Absent Power. Imagine standing completely barefoot in the middle of an active minefield, where every step could be your last. This is exactly the daily psychological reality of a human being who lacks the trait of impenetrable dignity in today's chaotic world. Let us drop the pleasantries and face the terror you swallow every morning with your coffee, the paralyzing fear of being unseen, the dread of being judged, and the endless terror of loss. When this absolute, rock-solid trait is absent from your core, you effectively become an emotional garbage dump for society. Anyone who crosses your path feels unconsciously permitted to offload their mental waste, their stress, and their toxic complexes into your mind. Because you lack that massive inner dam, you are forced to swallow it all. Evolutionary psychology dictates a brutal truth. An organism that cannot defend its own psychological territory is biologically condemned to destruction or perpetual servitude. The absence of this power has turned you into a chronic beggar for validation. This is an addiction far more destructive than any chemical substance. You desperately need your boss's approving nod, the digital likes on your screen, and the applause of your family just to feel like you exist. But the horrifying reality is that every single time you seek validation from the outside world, you sell a piece of your soul. The result? A chronic, gnawing emptiness that cannot be filled by the most expensive vacations or the finest luxuries. Neurologically speaking, when you lack this inner authority, the amygdala in your brain is locked in a permanent state of red alert. You are fighting an invisible, endless war where the enemy is everywhere and nowhere. This constant flood of cortisol and chronic stress actively weakens your immune system and violently erodes your spirit. In a world that is rapidly descending into chaos, individuals without this trait are always the first casualties. They are like dried leaves, violently tossed around by every passing political, economic, or social storm. Have you ever noticed why a single piece of bad news can paralyze your thoughts for hours and send your heart racing? It is because you are entirely permeable. You have no armor. This defenselessness pushes you to a point where you no longer recognize your own reflection in the mirror. You have become a fading shadow of other people's expectations. You blend into a herd that is itself marching off a cliff. This is the most terrifying type of death imaginable. The death of your identity long before the death of your physical body. If you do not awaken this trait within yourself, your romantic relationships will inevitably turn into psychological torture chambers. You will either magnetically attract domineering manipulators, or you will drive people away with your suffocating dependency. The lack of this inner power makes you feel perpetually inadequate. This deep-seated feeling of inadequacy is the root of all the lies you tell, the masks you wear, and the betrayals you endure. We will explore how this black hole was created in the upcoming sections, but for now, just look at that inner trembling you feel. That vibration of fear is the heavy price of missing the magnificent divine trait that was supposed to be manifested in your existence. But do not despair just yet. This pain is the ultimate messenger. It is the friction required to start the fire. The fact that you feel this agony means your spirit is still alive, violently rejecting its chains and preparing for an imminent, glorious reconstruction. Peace is coming. Part 2. The hard core of the universe. The anatomy of invincibility. Deep within the heart of every single atom lies a dense core that commands the absolute power of that structure. In the existence of a complete human being, there is a parallel trait that functions exactly like this atomic nucleus. Impenetrable, incredibly dense, and terrifyingly powerful. This trait is the glory of invincibility. Let us look at this phenomenon through the unforgiving lens of physics. In the universe, any object with a higher density is infinitely more resistant to external pressure. A human being who has crystallized this trait within themselves possesses such a massive psychological and spiritual density that absolutely no external force can alter their internal structure. This does not mean turning into an emotionless stone. Rather, it signifies an impenetrable authenticity that nothing can corrupt. Astrology and ancient sciences have whispered for millennia that the microcosm of the human is a perfect reflection of the macrocosm of the universe. Consider the sun. The sun does not fight, scream, or struggle to prove it is powerful. It simply radiates. It does not ask the surrounding planets if its light is acceptable or if its heat is too intense. It stands immovable at the center, and everything else is forced to revolve around it by the sheer magnitude of its gravity. When this trait is awakened within a human, it creates precisely this state: centrality. When you embody this trait, you no longer fear the chaos of the outside world, because you know with absolute certainty that your center of gravity lies in a dimension far beyond temporary material madness. You become an unshakable anchor. Modern psychological research on trauma and resilience reveals a shocking fact. Individuals who possess this core characteristic do not collapse in the face of severe tragedies or life-altering crises. Instead, they experience what science calls post-traumatic growth. Why? Because they have never tied their identity to external variables. They understand that wealth, social status, and even the physical body are merely temporary shells that might suffer damage. But that precious jewel, the attribute of absolute internal power, remains forever untouchable. This trait grants you dignity, which translates to being rare, precious, and inaccessible. You are no longer within reach of every toxic thought or every low-frequency individual. You hold profound reverence for yourself, not out of shallow arrogance, but out of a deep, cellular understanding of your own absolute worth. In a society where algorithms and masses constantly try to mold you into a compliant replica of everyone else, being invincible means standing firmly on the ground of ultimate truth. This trait injects you with a terrifying bravery, the courage to never fear standing alone. The vast majority of people will submit to any humiliation just to avoid the pain of isolation. But the invincible human knows that standing utterly alone on the path of truth is 1,000 times more majestic than sitting on a throne built on lies. This impenetrable power is exactly what allows you to smile in the dead center of a hurricane. It is not the foolish smile of ignorance, but the serene smile of total mastery over the game of life. You are no longer the chess piece. You are the hand moving the pieces. This trait is rooted in an eternal truth, and as we move to the next section, you will finally understand why awakening it is the only viable path to survival in this century. Part 3. Awakening in the midst of chaos, penetrating the subconscious. Wake up. This two-word command is the shortest, most controversial, and most urgent shock your nervous system desperately needs right now. Why, while the world is actively devouring your unique identity, do you continue to sleepwalk through the illusions of collective validation? This third phase of our journey is designed to fire a direct, unapologetic bullet into the very heart of your subconscious mind. Depth psychology has long proven a horrifying reality. We humans are meticulously, terrifyingly programmed for hidden slavery. From the exact moment of birth, society conditions us with a toxic lie. They teach us that to be loved and valued, we must be endlessly flexible, we must mirror the herd, and we must bend until our spines snap under the pressure of societal expectations. This is a massive, systemic illusion designed exclusively to tame the sleeping lion inside you. The truth is that the chaos of the modern world is not an accident. It is the direct result of humanity severing its own umbilical cord from the source of impenetrable inner power. When you fail to actively awaken this invincible glory in your subconscious, you transform into a walking magnet for disaster. Concepts from quantum physics and the psychology of energetic fields demonstrate that the internal vibrations of weakness and fear emit frequencies that literally drag chaotic, destructive events into your reality. Do you honestly think you are just unlucky? No, you are simply permeable. Your mind is functioning like a radio station with no filters, eagerly receiving and amplifying every destructive noise in the atmosphere. True awakening means brutally accepting that you are not an innocent victim of circumstance. You are a sleepwalking creator who has blindly handed the paintbrush of your destiny to the terrifying hands of the crowd. Look at the undeniable controversies of history. Why, in moments of extreme crisis, do the masses march toward their own slaughter like a herd of sheep? Because they entirely lack a metaphysical spine. A human who has not forged this attribute of power is completely defenseless against mass hypnosis. They genuinely believe their thoughts are their own, while in reality, they are merely regurgitating the calculated injections of media, culture, and toxic peers. This lack of the invincible trait creates a massive security breach in your soul. If you do not seal this breach immediately, the external chaos will not just destroy your finances or your career, it will invade your most private, intimate thoughts. Fear is the ultimate tool of control, and anyone who is not impenetrable will forever be controlled. We live in a deceptive era that sells softness as the highest virtue. But look closely at the brutal elegance of nature. The diamond is the hardest, most impenetrable substance on earth, and therefore it is the most valuable. Water, while soft, can slice through solid steel when put under immense, focused pressure. This is the flexible solidity your subconscious requires for absolute survival. Without this trait, you are halting your own evolution. You will become a psychological fossil, crushed beneath the weight of modern history. Waking this force up requires the harsh realization that there is no savior coming for you. That sentence should send a violent shiver down your spine, but simultaneously, it is the crucial first step to releasing the greatest surge of real dopamine your brain has ever felt. The absolute ecstasy of total self-reliance. You must choose Remain a trembling drop on the surface of the ocean, blown away by the slightest breeze, or become the deep, silent abyss of the ocean itself, untouchable, calm, and sovereign. Prepare yourself, for the ashes of your weakness are about to birth a titan. Conclusion. The Architecture of Glory. Practical Solutions. Welcome to the end of your beginning. We have walked through the scorching flames of fear and navigated the dusty, forgotten layers of your subconscious mind to arrive at this exact coordinate, the place where raw knowledge transmutes into absolute power. Now that you fully comprehend the devastating psychological toll that the absence of impenetrable dignity has taken on your life, it is time to receive the definitive, practical solutions to awaken this sleeping giant. This final section is the ultimate reward for your courage in facing the harsh truth. From this second forward, you are no longer a passive spectator bleeding out in the arena. You are the master architect of your own fortress of invincibility. The following protocols are the forbidden keys to escaping the chaos and anchoring yourself in absolute stability. 1. The technique of sacred isolation. To crystallize the trait of invincibility within your cells, you must enforce a daily protocol of absolute silence for at least 20 minutes. No phones, no books, no music, no external stimuli. Sit in total solitude. Focus entirely on the mechanics of your breathing. Visualize that with every single inhale, you are pulling in a blinding light of absolute, unshakable solidity. With every exhale, forcefully expel the toxic need for external validation. This daily neurological surgery actively physically rewires the neural pathways of independence in your brain. 2. Forging your verbal armor. Starting today, you must ruthlessly eliminate weak vocabulary from your existence. Stop saying, "I'll try," and command, "I will do it." Eradicate, "I'm sorry to bother you," and replace it with, "Thank you for your time." Your words set the acoustic frequency of your power. An invincible human curates their words with the precision of a sniper. Learn to respond to unreasonable demands with a simple, flat no. Do not justify it. Do not apologize for it. The power of an unapologetic, firm no protects your psychological borders better than 1,000 standing armies. 3. The practice of the eagle's gaze. When confronted with high-stress environments, aggressive individuals, or social chaos, consciously relax your physical muscles and lock your gaze on the horizon. Instead of snapping into a fast, emotional reaction, mentally elevate yourself above the scene. Look down at the interaction as if you are a detached observer watching a movie. This psychological distancing allows you to experience the trait of inaccessibility in real time. By refusing to react, you swallow the aggressor's power whole. This is the ultimate form of psychological judo. 4. Iron discipline of the immediate environment. You must conquer the chaos outside by ruthlessly enforcing order inside. Make your bed with military precision. Clear the clutter from your workspace. Command the hours of your day with a strict schedule. Order is the physical manifestation of willpower. A human who cannot control their own bedroom will never conquer the chaos of the world. Strict personal discipline sends an undeniable physical signal to your subconscious mind. I am the absolute authority here. 5. Identification and eradication of energy. Parasites. Take a brutal, unfiltered inventory of your relationships. Anyone who constantly complains, chronically criticizes, or drains your vital energy must be immediately evicted from your inner circle. To become invincible, you require an environment that acknowledges and respects your sovereignty. Being impenetrable means slamming the door in the face of toxic people and never letting them reside rent-free in your mind. As you implement these protocols, a massive wave of natural dopamine and serotonin will flood your system, generated by the pure feeling of mastery. This is a profound, sustainable ecstasy that no drug or external complement can ever replicate. Here are the answers to the 20 vital questions to complete your awakening. 1. Does this power conflict with kindness? No. True kindness only comes from the strong. The weak are only nice out of fear. 2. How do I kill fear? By confronting it daily in microdoses. 3. What is the role of spirituality here? It is connecting your single drop to the infinite ocean of absolute power. 4. What do I do with enemies? Annihilate them from your reality through masterful indifference. 5. How do I build self-confidence? By ruthlessly keeping the promises you make to yourself. 6. What if I stumble? Stand up instantly and put the armor back on. Failure only exists if you stay on the ground. 7. Does this affect wealth? Yes, the invincible attract massive opportunities while the weak repel them. 8. How can I be happy alone? By realizing you are your own most valuable companion. 9. How do I handle others' jealousy? Use it as high-octane fuel for your continued ascent. 10. How do I conquer explosive anger? By realizing that anger is a sign of permeability and lost control. 11. Does physical exercise matter? Crucially, a sovereign mind requires an iron fortress of a body. 12. How do I know I am awake? When the cruel judgments of others no longer alter your heartbeat. 13. How do I deal with a toxic family? Maintain respectful distance and build walls of impenetrable iron. 14. How do I survive global chaos? Starve yourself of toxic news and focus entirely on creating value. 15. Why must I be invincible? Because the modern world is actively designed to consume the weak. 16. How do I make ruthless decisions? By trusting your deep intuition and silencing the noise of doubt. 17. Does this journey end? No. Human perfection is a glorious, bottomless ocean. 18. How do I become magnetically attractive? Through absolute self-reliance and the absence of neediness. 19. What do I do with despair? Watch it pass like a dark cloud, knowing your inner sun remains untouched. 20. Final words? You were engineered for absolute glory. Never, ever settle for less. You are now ready. Step out of your room and look at the world with the eyes of a sovereign. You are no longer the trembling prey. You are the architect of destiny. Clothed in this impenetrable dignity, you will remain safe forever.